News in the border crisis that could add insult to the ongoing injury being suffered by more than 2,300 kids who've been torn from their parents at the border. It's a problem, as you know, that the president and his administration caused by choosing back in April to enforce existing border laws in a way that other presidents have not until now. That's a demonstrable fact, no matter what you might hear from anyone in the administration. As you also know, what followed was kids in holding pens, kids in desert detention centers, kids taken hundreds, even thousands of miles away from their parents, young children, toddlers even, housed in so-called tender age facilities. The president has refused to take responsibility for his role in any of this, something on full display today.
All right, here we go. Coming up next, a lightweight championship fight between Conor McGregor and Conor McGregor.
Dating back to
Our tale of the tape for this, our main event of the evening. Both fighters 29 years of age. We send it inside the octagon. The veteran voice is Bruce Buffer.
Nobody's had the political courage to take care of it, but we're going to take care of it. It's been going on for a long time.
Policy that caused this whole blow-up. Now, just hours after the signing ceremony, we're learning some troubling things about what comes next. Namely, CNN has learned today's executive order does not call for the reuniting of children who have so far been separated from their parents. Caitlin Collins has the breaking news on that. She joins now from the White House. So what exactly is going to happen to the border kids who are in detention centers tonight?
Well, Anderson, to put it bluntly, nothing. This executive order that the president signed in the Oval Office today, painting it as this long-term solution, is really not. It's more of a stopgap, and nothing, there is no language in the text of this executive order. It's got 4 pages or so that says anything about these children who've already been split up from these parents, these 2,300 or so that we know of. Children, they will not be immediately reunited with their families because their parents are going to remain in federal custody as these immigration proceedings go on. So they are not grandfathered in any way in this language that the president instructed today to keep these families together if they are detained while coming across the border. That doesn't apply to these people. So the president is painting this as a long-term solution, but officials from the Department of Justice, Health and Human Services, and the Department of Homeland Security are essentially saying that these kids who have already been separated from their parents won't be immediately reunited. It'll be up to the parents to talk to HHS and find a way to get back to be reunited with their children. There is no language in here, Anderson, that reunites them with their families.
The Justice Department is saying that the child separation policy might actually resume in less than 3 weeks.
That's exactly right, and that's because of this agreement that they cannot hold kids for longer than 20 days. Nothing that the president signed today changes any of that. So unless they go to court and this ruling is overturned and they can instead hold these kids for longer than 20 days, then that's not going to change. The officials recognized that today and admitted as much, saying,
damn, I keep getting jacked up by that bad boy.
The president signed this executive order. Now, Anderson, the president did not have to sign an executive order to put an end to the separation of these families on the border. That is a direct result of a policy that his attorney general enacted not that long ago. So essentially, all he has to do is
That's it. Good.
and call the attorney general to put an end to this. But instead,
What's up, NJ Gaming? How you doing, man? Well, I'm back, Truth. I'm back.
For that young fighter here tonight. And here's the end. Now we go inside the octagon. Bruce Buffer with the official decision.
I've been really busy. Really busy. Really busy.
New York's East Harlem. Our Jason Carroll is there as well. He joins us now. Is there any indication from people running this facility that they've been given any kind of guidance as to what happens to these kids now?
Well, look, in the short term, what's going to happen to these children is
yeah,
stay with their foster families. They will go home at night, stay with their foster families, come back to facilities like this one, the Cayuga Center during the day. In the long term, though, there is no answer, no plan in place in terms of what will happen to the 239 children and babies, some as young as 9 months old, that are being housed here at this particular facility. Even tonight, the deputy mayor of Health and Human Services here in New York City says her office has received no plan from the federal government in terms of what to do with these 239 children. This is an issue,
a cool
breeze,
facing
not
a cold breeze. A cool breeze is nice when it's hot outside.
Throughout the country. Anderson.
So how did the kids there end up there? Because they crossed the southern border, which is obviously nowhere near New York.
Riding in the cold is no fun.
Right. Well,
it's not fun.
Listen to New York City's mayor,
yeah.
Bill de Blasio.
Riding in the cold is miserable. Retro, what up, baby?
Most of those children came
and
here.
now on tail the tape for this lightweight scrap. Barboza is 3 years his senior. He will have a 1-inch reach advantage.
He said some of the conditions that they may have received in transit on the way here. So many of them not in great condition.
All right. We'll go walk that dog and mow that lawn, brother NJ.
Separated from their parents. But imagine the shock Anderson, this mayor had that he expressed today.
Some of the most beautiful countryside that I've ever ridden in was New Hampshire and Vermont. Vermont and New Hampshire were probably one of the most beautiful states that I'd ever been to. And I've been to 48 states on my bike.
That's correct. I mean, they're out here during the day.
I got something to tell Cruppy Face MJ.
They go home at night with foster families that they've been placed with. That's how this facility here operates. But again, remember, there are several facilities like this one, similar facilities like this one here in New York City. But I can't express enough the anger that this mayor has, because he said the federal government, federal officials simply are not communicating with city officials. That is why they found out here today, after this video came out showing some of these young girls being taken to this facility late at night. That's how the mayor's office got wind that there was some children here. He comes here and comes to find out that it's not just some, it's 239 children that are here. And the frustration that he has is that the federal government is telling facilities like this one not to share with them how much information they have about these children, the number of children that are here at this particular facility. This facility finally agreeing to cooperate, but can't express that enough. The anger that this mayor had in finding out that this many children were here in his city, right under his nose, and they had no idea.
The president acted today in the face of Republican policies and two proposed immigration bills, which contain language that keep families together. The president didn't really need to act as he demonstrated today. By the breaking news, journalist now will be taken on the Senate.
A huge kick for the knockout victory. Absolutely one for the highlight reel right there, I should say, but just caught him flush, full force, beautiful extension on the kick, and the fight was really over as soon as that one made contact. I'm not even sure he was conscious when he hit the canvas. Outstanding performance here tonight. Let's take a look at that again.
Little children from the arms of their parents, putting them in detention cages, and then making a big deal about an executive order, which may do absolutely nothing for these 23.
And there he is, all smiles. What a huge knockout he turned in here tonight. That is one they'll be talking about for some time. And here once more with the official decision is
policy created by Congress can only be addressed by Congress. He was lying because it was a crisis that he created and attempted to address today, but he didn't go anywhere near far enough. So where we are right now is posted.
Well, doubt this man at your own peril, the notorious.
Still separated from their parents. There is no understanding, as your reporters have indicated, when these children will be reunited. Furthermore, we have a situation where the Trump administration now, their solution is to provide indefinite detention. So I presume that for the new people who are arrested, they will be with their children in jail for an indefinite period of time because the Trump administration wants to undo the Flores settlement, which focuses on the needs of children and limits to 20 days, the number of days that children can be in jail. Bottom line to all of this is that...
No, insurance isn't high. That's cheap. You get about liability insurance on a motorcycle for about $300 a month, or $300 a year.
which deals with the 10 million people who are undocumented in this country.
No, more than that.
The president is saying he
More than
wanted
that.
a longer-term solution, and that's what he was holding out for. He obviously was blaming.
No, it's like almost 600 a year, 500 and change.
Public relations mandate.
Look, I say this often, and I don't want to be misunderstood. I don't need to be overly partisan, but we have a president who lies all of the time, including on this issue. Just the other day, you correct me if I'm wrong, he was saying, I can't do anything about it. This is congressional action that is needed. Well, it turned out, of course, that was not true. He created the crisis. He could end the crisis. So I think what has happened is when you have millions of Americans, my phone lines in Burlington and here in Washington are bouncing off the hook. People in Vermont, and I know people all over this country, cannot believe that in the United States of America we're putting these kids into detention camps. So there's outrage. You have Laura Bush talking about this action being eerily reminiscent of what happened to Japanese Americans during World War II. That is from the wife of a conservative Republican president. You have the Pope speaking out on this issue. You have leaders all over the world saying, what is going on in the United States of America? So I think Trump had to respond to that. But clearly he sees, from his political perspective, that being anti-immigrant is a winner for him politically. I don't think it is, but that's his logic. And he will continue to mount a very strong anti-immigrant effort. By the way, in the midst of all of this stuff, so we don't get distracted, we had the leadership the Republican leadership in the House talking now after giving a $1 trillion tax break to the top 1%, coming up with a budget that would make massive cuts to Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
Fighters 29 years of age. McGregor will
You
have
talked
the
about the Florida settlement, which limits how long kids can be held in detention to 20 days. Is it clear to you, I mean, the administration clearly wants to reverse that in the courts. It's not clear they're going to be able to do that. The judges very easily could just say, no, that's what the court ruling was, the court ruling is going to hold. If, in fact, they're not able to change that ruling, is it clear to you what happens to the separation?
Oh, I've been all right, Retro. I've been really, really busy, Retro. Really busy, man.
You can't hold these kids for more than 20 days. Therefore, do they go back to separation?
Well, you're asking a good question.
Well, it's a building that has hosted so many classic fights. We are underway at Madison Square Garden, right here in the heart of New York City.
For more than 20 days, you're asking what happens to those kids. Right. And you're right. I don't think anybody knows the answer, but it may well mean that those kids will then be separated from their parents.
He's really doing a good job of controlling distance and getting off these shots.
The mechanism now
What a jab.
those families to make sure that they get the court.
This could be it right here.
Big block shot. And by the way, they do that for much lower costs to the
Back to the feet.
than visiting situations.
And now starting
Maybe
to
we're
flip
not
on that jab.
even house arrest in some cases, which is
Well, there are ways to get.
Punch coming, it's blocked.
Yeah, that's right.
McGregor gets hit with a kick. He appears largely on.
God, I hate that spinning elbow, man.
Oh, nice jab there by Dustin
I
Poirier.
suspect permanent psychic trauma.
Right hand upstairs.
3 or 4. Cannot speak.
Well, he left his head open there, Joe, and he got cracked with that jab. He was almost moving into it. So let's see if he can switch up the footwork here, Joe, and make the requisite adjustments. Jab there by
My
McGregor.
God, you don't have to be a child psychologist to know that the damage of the
Poirier
back has
gets
done.
tagged by that stiff jab. He's got to get that guard up, Joe. Well, he has found his range early and often tonight. Another punch to the head by McGregor.
in terms of what's happening in Congress, where as the administration says some Republicans are actually divided on, there's also more narrow Republican bills in the Senate. Have you seen any piece of legislation that you could support that has any chance of passing that too?
No, I think that the Republicans, there are 2 pieces of legislation. One is bad, one is worse. And here is the irony. The irony is that the American people overwhelmingly, poll after poll after poll, want comprehensive immigration reform. The American people are appalled at the separation of children from their parents.
Oh, he might
The
be out.
American people want differing opinions. But a
Under 2
majority
minutes
of
to
the
go
American people
in a
believe
back and forth
in
first
a
round here.
comprehensive immigration reform and a path toward citizenship. So So that is the issue. And yet they're not simply getting any support from the president who sees anti-immigration as, I guess, a good political strategy.
Is the president funding, is he using this to try to get funding on the border wall? I mean, was that sort of the bottom line for him? Because clearly he felt, he didn't get the funding that he wanted earlier, and there were obviously concerns raised by some of his supporters that he was looking weak on immigration.
Using his jab effectively here, it's an underutilized weapon by a lot of fighters, not this guy.
You have a president who is given tax breaks to
blocked by McGregor.
Who wants to cut programs for working people desperate for youth. And he thinks, as authoritarian types all over Europe believe, that if you can turn their anger against immigrants, show how strong you are on those little children, that it will get you votes.
Finds his range with the jab.
Pretty pathetic.
Oh, he is just teeing off here.
Every strategy.
Also, I think like the reporting on the women points you have before you have the chance to tabloid that Bob
So running into the round, he got knocked down just before the final horn. You can classify that as saved by the bell.
Let's see some of the action here.
Reverse, the president is speaking tonight. Actually, let's. The president is speaking tonight. We're going to be monitoring this. He's in Duluth, Minnesota. We're obviously going to be seeing if he talks about the executive order that he signed today. We'll continue to monitor that. He was on the road again, this time for a campaign speech. That's what he's making right now in Minnesota.
Oh, yeah.
Members of the roundtable in Minnesota have lots of problems with illegal immigration. He lost the state in 2016 by nearly 2 percentage points. Our senior White House correspondent Jeff Dillon is there for us tonight. Has the president spoken at all so far about the executive order?
Anderson, he did just a few moments ago, actually. President Trump talked about his executive order, but I can tell you, if you weren't paying close attention, you almost would have missed it. President Trump, of course, likes to talk about a lot of different topics. He likes to talk about the economy. He talked a lot about North Korea. But the executive order that he signed today, which is the biggest reversal that he has done since he's been in office, it created the biggest consternation. Anderson, he summed it up in about one sentence or so. He said, today I signed an executive order to keep families together, but he assured this crowd that the borders would remain as tough as always. And then he changed the subject. So, Anderson, it's clear tonight that at least so far in this rally, the president is not eager to draw attention to the executive order he signed today. But I can tell you, Anderson, after we've done some reporting throughout the day, one of the things that pushed him the most to change his mind was that he was losing the loyal support of his most loyal allies. Senator Warren, other Republicans who are always with him, certainly they've won with him. So it's a combination of that, as well as the images that Ivanka Trump and Melania Trump talked to him about that urged him to change his mind, and the fact that they know it's bad politics heading into a midterm election.
He's got to be careful here. He's in trouble.
Trump says he's signing about executive order.
And he continues to effectively avoid that jab. We told you he had one of the best in the game. He is putting it to good use tonight. He's got him right here.
Darrell Scott is supporting the president. Rick Wilson, Republican strategist, not a Trump supporter, and author of the upcoming bill.
And the body work really starting to take its toll here. Obvious redness on that right side.
Given that it doesn't apply
nice strike landed there by Connor.
In question.
You know, I think Anderson, what we're seeing here is one of the greatest discussions so far. This is that the president made a very big bet on this program being something that the Republican base would love and embrace for his allies.
Hey, what's up, Goat? How you doing, man? Man, I'm trying to... I don't know how much I'm going to be grinding today. I got to go handle some business today.
He wasn't just trying to score or buy time before the referee stood them up. He was trying to pound his opponent out of there, and that is exactly what he did. You wonder if some fighters will watch this footage and learn from that high-level offensive execution when it comes to the ground and pound.
Let's take a look at that again.
He convinced himself and his supporters
Check it out again.
inside the White House that this was going to be a big political winner, and it turned out to be a big political stinker.
That doesn't make sense to you. I mean, the administration has been saying now for weeks.
And there he is after the huge knockout turned in tonight. Near perfect execution and one of the bigger highlights of his UFC career.
The policy, but then all of a sudden, the the president today signs this executive order and seems to do just that, even though it doesn't apply to 23 of the kids who are right now in custody.
Well, first of all, the president said from day one that he did not like the idea of the children being separated. So it's something that he's been contemplating for so long, and in reply to that other part of the statement.
But that's not true, because, I mean, this was sold early on. I mean, General Kelly was talking about this when he was head of Homeland Security.
But the president said
more than a year ago that this was going to be a deterrent, the taking of kids from their parents would act as a deterrent.
It should be a deterrent. I wouldn't put my child in harm's risk. I mean, we're absolving the parents from all culpability from these actions. I don't see anyone decrying the fact that these parents are putting their children at risk. However, the president said from the very beginning, it's very unfortunate. He didn't like children being separated from their parents. You had crying Chuck Schumer saying all the president has to do is pull out an ink pen and sign an order. Then when he does sign the order, you have the same ones that cried about the order being signed,
but I guess my
about
question
the order that was signed.
Right. I guess my question is, how come the White House has been saying all along, oh, no, the president can't just sign an order. The president can't just make a phone call about this. But today the president did just that. I mean, has the White House
that he signed, apparently he can't just sign an order, because the order that he signed, everyone is saying it's an incomplete order, that it's not enough. So, you know, he did what he could do at this time, and we'll see what happens later on.
Rick, does that make sense to you?
It does not, Anderson, and I'll tell you why.
When I got more time,
the executive order he signed today was a response to a political
I might start another league up. I'm not sure.
Very big bet. And Reverend, I'm sorry, Reverend, I didn't interrupt you. This is a very large panic.
Into a fucking home. And you know the sad thing about a UFC goat, the sad thing about it is some of those kids will be separated from their parents indefinitely. Some of those kids will never ever see their parents again. That is fucking sad. Some of those kids, 2,200 kids, 2,300 kids, some of those kids will never ever see their parents again.
This was something Donald Trump wanted. He got a program out there that deliberately separated children from their parents, young children.
Some kids are as far as thousands of miles away from their parents. How you gonna move the fucking kids thousands of miles away, man?
He's bleeding from his eyebrow. That shot cut him. Oh, he lands another jab. Clearly employing the jab effectively here. These guys early. He wins the clinch. Very good exchange. Spinning back fist. Nice strike landed there by McGregor.
Let me just ask you this.
He connects with the punch there. McGregor gets in the clinch.
Yes, there is. Let me just ask you a question. You support, I assume, what the president did today. You're a big supporter of the president. I assume you support what he did today. Do you believe separating kids from their parents is a humane thing to do?
Listen,
McGregor's got the double underhooks here in the clinch now, Joe. Let's see what he can do it.
From law underhooks parents is a standard operating procedure in the black community. I've had family members that have had month-old babies separated.
McGregor's got the double underhooks here in the clinch now.
Yeah, but that doesn't make it right, you dummy. That doesn't even make it right, you stupid dummy. Ignorance, man. Ignorance.
Oh, that's not the best jab in the game. It's right up there, continuing to land and keep his opponent at distance. And he eats a right hand there.
Good exchange there.
Oh, how about the multiple strikes landing here? That is a serious offensive barrage.
That straight left there.
Looks like it did stun a little bit.
This could be it. Big shots.
It's actually a release them asking to come back and forth 75%.
How about that shit?
Well,
some have gotten through shots. Overhand punch to the head blocked, though, by McGregor.
Cut out by the department.
You sneak into this country illegally, and you get caught. And so they let you in this country illegally. And take you on your birthday word that you're going to do it.
This could be it right here.
Get deported.
Oh, he might be out.
Department of Justice, you can say, come on now, all you want. I'm telling you, the Department of Justice says 75% of the term.
You hear what they're doing? Things just got real interesting. Here's a huge punch that's
reaction to the President's executive order and the fine print that it could contain from, and I really mean it.
And here's another devastating shot to the head that really does damage.
Sunday at 9 on CNN.
And here's another shot to the head that really stuns.
Nothing off the 2,300 kids separated under the policy.
What a brawl that round was.
Hey, what's up, Hoggy? How you doing?
Professor Dershowitz, the fact that the executive order doesn't...
Yeah, I'm at it for a little bit, man.
Other kids have already been separated from their families.
Brittany Palmer is in the building.
The president has actually fought out this policy.
Oh, I don't know. I know he should be saying three things. There are three absolutes. Number one, no separation of parents and children. Number two,
that
no
last
detention
round
of any
was an
child more
all-out
than 20
brawl.
days.
If they
And number
continue
three,
like that in this round, someone's getting knocked out.
Nice punch by McGregor.
That eye is going to be grotesque.
Oh, he continues to effectively use his jab here, much like he did in the previous round. Man has his chin in this field.
We're going to try to fix your microphone. We're going to go to Professor Turley just for now. Professor Turley, I mean, Professor Dershowitz was saying about the 20 days. That goes back to the Flores settlement, which says kids can't be held in detention for more than 20 days. Is it clear to you from a legal standpoint, if the administration can't get that court order reversed, that settlement reversed,
What an exchange.
is it possible that these kids, theoretically would be held with their families moving forward for 20 days, would then be separated?
It's absolutely a possibility.
He continues to effectively employ that jab. Well, he's been rendered defensive at this point, but a nice job getting his hands up to protect that.
So you have a choice, and this is just kicking the can down the road.
Right punches
So you reunite family, you either release the entire family, which is similar to the Obama policy that the president wants
Yeah, Joe, just the way he drew it up as he gets the knockout victory here tonight, it's hard to land a strike more flush than he did right there. And I'm not even sure the opponent saw it coming, so he'll see the replay and probably shake his head, but ultimately this is a huge result and a huge win for that fighter here tonight.
This is what they call a misdemeanor, UFC Go. I don't necessarily think that the kids really don't have homes because they're fleeing to the U.S. They're fleeing to come and have a better life, for their family to have a better life. They're crossing the border. But because they're crossing the border, that is a misdemeanor. But because they want to be tighter on the borders, they're separating the kids from the parents. I understand stiff immigration laws, but don't separate the kids from the parents for a misdemeanor for just crossing the border. Now these parents and these children, some of these parents and these children will never, ever, ever see their parents again. Some of these children, some of these parents are never going to see their children again. It's freaking horrible. It's horrible. They want to talk about laws. Oh, well, it's the law. It's the law. Come on, man. This guy's broken every fucking law under the sun.
Going forward, or at least seems to, does it really change anything, this executive order today, from a legal standpoint?
Not really. There was no requirement that they separate the family, as is abundantly clear from this executive order. But this doesn't change anything in the sense that you still have the binding Flores agreement. And so we are going to have the same question in 20 days.
And this is what's so concerning, because this is eerily reminiscent of what we saw with the travel ban, where it seemed like people in the White House were stomping on the accelerator before they looked at the map. I mean, there's a lot of preparation that needs to be done when you're going to make this type of change. Now, in fairness to the Trump administration, Trump ran on a much more enhanced enforcement of immigration. He wants to shift the paradigm, essentially, from the civil proceedings to the criminal proceedings. And the impact of that is that you run right into Flores. Now, it is also true that we did separate families before the Trump administration. This is not a new problem. But when he shifted to the criminal enforcement so heavily, it magnified those numbers to the point that we're dealing with today. And the fact that there didn't seem to be a lot of preparation here, once again, is a certain pattern for the administration, and it's baffling.
Well, even under the executive order, I mean, it calls on the Defense Department to come up with housing. It's not clear right now what sort of facilities, or if there are enough facilities to house families together.
Yeah, I think that people need to remember one thing that in relying too much on Flores. The Flores deals with holding these kids essentially in detention or a form of incarceration. The administration could really put a wedge into that distinction by moving the kids to things like military facilities where it is essentially like home confinement. Or they could use, as you've mentioned earlier on the program, electronic bracelets for tracking. But this issue is going to present some new issues, some new elements. Now, the one thing that the administration really needed and may not get is new legislation. If there's new legislation, that consent decree can be viewed as either moot or the underlying circumstances change. Those are all traditional reasons for the court to look again at the consent decree. But if there's no new legislation, you're going to go to this court with essentially the same legal position, but you just don't like what you agreed to earlier as the Justice Department.
Professor Turley, I appreciate it. My apologies for Professor Bishop on the other problem. With all these immigrant shelters being opened up, someone who's bound to be making money. Coming up, we'll tell you who it seems is right now.
To rock, Saturday, 7 Eastern.
So with all these undocumented children being housed at all these facilities across the country, who exactly is behind the construction and upkeep of many of the facilities we wonder? Our senior investigative correspondent Drew Griffin tonight has the details about the executive who runs that operation.
He is suddenly at the center of the media storm surrounding the separation of migrant children from their families. That's because Juan Sanchez's charity, nonprofit Southwest Key organization, is housing half of those kids. Under U.S. government contracts, Sanchez and his organization provide shelter, schooling, and reunification services for thousands. Most accounts, he's doing a pretty good job. By most accounts, he's making a small fortune doing it.
The salary is extraordinarily high.
Southwest Key operates 83 shelters or schools or detention centers across the country. Federal government contracts in the last 10 years add up to $1.5 billion. According to the latest tax filings in 2017, Sanchez's Southwest Key nonprofit paid him $1.47 million, double the $770,000 he made the year before. Is that a lot, even for a nonprofit of his size? Apparently, yes.
Head of the American Red Cross receives a $600,000 salary. It's a multi-billion-dollar charity that controls half of the blood supply. He's a disaster provider. You've got this charity. The budget is like a fifth of its size, not nearly the size of the responsibilities. So it does appear high.
Sanchez's defense of his high salary and early years were a struggle.
When we started, we started with nothing. Very low salaries, no health insurance, no 401ks, nothing. Over time, our board got to a point where they said, we are now in a position where they are carrying.
That history doesn't quite match with the group's own tax filings. CNN went back to 1997, where Sanchez was paid nearly $130,000. Nearly every year since, except for 2 gap years, showing no increase. His salary has increased.
Starting to land those kicks
That
to the body.
doesn't even include his wife,
Joe, he is
listed as the vice president, who in the latest filing made an additional $262,000. Mark Owens, for 10 years, ran the IRS Department of Nonprofits, says compensation should be similar to what Sanchez could make in the private sector. He sees nothing comparable and questions why the board of Southwest Heat voted to approve Sanchez's current compensation.
The board can award the president's salary. The issue is going to be whether the Internal Revenue Service or State Attorney General believes that's excessive compensation.
The bigger question, says Owens, why is this private institution operating under taxpayer-funded government contracts considered a non-profit charity?
Gets out of the full mount.
It's unusual to see that kind of entity be tax exempt.
Now, Southwest Keys says that Sanchez's salary is actually below average for a nonprofit size.
Anderson, that's what they say, but by Southwest Keys' own analysis, which they sent, they are using to compare his salary. He is his compensation, I should say, is only behind the director of
and from here transitions to the Muay Thai clinch
and the head of the New York Museum of Modern Art.
30 seconds now to go in round one.
We are talking to say something appears out of balance.
National breaking news: why federal prosecutors are still investigating the $150,000 payment from the publisher of the National Enquirer and his former Playboy playmate, who says that she had an affair with then Citizen Donaldson. Breaking news now: the Wall Street Journal is reporting that American media incorporated, publisher of the National Enquirer and other publications, has been subpoenaed for records in the MIKE-TYSON code. According to the Journal, federal prosecutors in New York were interested in AMI's payment of $150,000 to former Playboy model Karen McDougal in August of 2016 as part of their criminal investigation from his former personal attorney. Citing people familiar with the matter, prosecutors in the Cohen case are investigating the payment for the rights to her story about a purported affair in 2006 with then Citizen Donald Trump as part of an effort to suppress information that might damage his presidential campaign and in turn possibly violate campaign finance laws. Back in March, I talked about the possibility with President Biden. Why do you think they squashed the story?
Back then or now?
Now.
They
round two.
You think it's because of
at the end of that round, his opponent was clearly hurt. He's going to look to start this round off fast and try to pick up where he left off.
Well, without much resistance, he continues to find a hole for that jab, much like he did in the previous round.
Meanwhile, an important football to this, according to two sources, Cohen's decision on cooperating with prosecutors is close only to his target, and any decision he can use to win. One of the sources adds that it would depend on what, if any, charges Michael Cohen would be facing what prosecutors are interested in. The super don't understand the joins now wrote an in-depth article last summer. As someone who knows more than most about AMI and the inner workings, I wonder what you make, first of all, of
he's looking to take the back.
Well, it's not surprising that law enforcement would be interested in this subject, but it is also not clear whether any crime was committed by anyone here. David Packer, who is the CEO of American Media, is a very close friend of Donald. And when I interviewed him for the New Yorker, he was very open in saying, we used the National Enquirer to help him get elected president. We were supportive of him. He was a little less clear on what the basis was for the $150,000 payment, because he didn't say it was a catch-and-kill story. He didn't say that they bought the story in order to suppress it to help the Trump campaign. He said that they had other interests in Google to do fitness reporting.
Excellent movement and transitions here on the ground, staying busy.
But whether Donald
working
Trump,
from side control,
David Pecker, Michael Cohen, anyone committed a crime here is far from
tries to pass, but cannot.
We should say AMI forcefully denies that they engaged in what's called catch and kill, but
he's now working from side control again. Excellent movement on the ground here, constantly moving, constantly staying busy.
Open Door is a new way to spell your home. You spell your home at Open Door. We close on your timeline. Just go on the website and you type in your address.
It literally took minutes.
Spelling our home to Open Door could not have been easier.
He's now working from half guard
today.
He's in half guard. He's back to full mount again.
Well, tonight, the verdict announced by the president himself is in.
Excellent movement on the ground here. Always trying to better his position.
He wanted to troll his enemies, get them angry, get his own people riled with anger. He wanted to show how tough he was on illegal immigration. Show that he'd separate kids from their parents, and if that caused a storm, all the better. Well, tonight, Trump himself had to say he's lost. He did so with a backflip so high and wide it could put him in the Olympics of backflippers. Was it because the policy of tearing children from their parents was wrong? No. He said with neither blush nor airbrush, it was because it looked bad. Good evening, I'm Chris Matthews in Washington. The knowledge that American authorities were separating children from their parents was horrible enough. But when word reached the country that some of these children were being lost in the system, that must have been too much, and the president buckled. Under mounting pressure, the president signed an executive order to keep immigrant families together after they detained at the border. According to the Washington Post, a driving force behind Trump's backflip today was First Lady Melania Trump, who urged her husband to stop the policy. Quote, in the past couple of days, she has increasingly made clear to the president that he should use his power to fix the problem. But in signing today's order, the president today effectively took credit for solving a problem he had personally created.
What we have done today is we are keeping families together. Ivanka feels very strongly. My wife feels very strongly about it. I feel very strongly about it. I think anybody with a heart would feel very strongly about it. We don't like to see families separated. At the same time, we don't want people coming into our country illegally. This takes care of the problem.
Trump's backflip comes a day after he blamed Democrats and insisted that those crossing the border are infesting our country. The additional revelation that Trump allowed babies to be separated and detained added even more pressure to do something. As Republican Senator Orrin Hatch remarked this morning, tender-age shelters is a chilling phrase we will not soon forget. But despite those haunting images out of Texas, President reportedly said his policy of zero tolerance will help the party in the November midterms. According to the Associated Press, Trump has told advisors he believes he looks strong on the matter, suggesting it could be a winning culture war issue, much like his attacks on NFL players who take a knee for the national anthem. But to that effect, the president has tried to cultivate a false narrative, arguing that Democrats are to blame for his policy decisions. However, that calculation roiled his party and spurred some Republicans to take action. In a letter to the president yesterday, Texas House Speaker Joe Strauss called on Trump to rescind the zero tolerance policy, saying it is wrong to use those scared, vulnerable children as a negotiating tool. Today's executive order ends the policy of separating families, but does not end the broader zero tolerance policy, which requires that everyone who crosses the border illegally is prosecuted. We've announced Christy Walker, White House correspondent NBC News, also joining us today with that letter from the president, Texas House Speaker Joe Strauss, and also Terry McAuliffe, the former Democratic governor of Virginia. Let me talk to Kristen about this. What broke Trump's back on this?
Let's look at that from another angle.
To senior administration officials, they say he has been speaking to his advisors and his family members, Chris, about this in private conversations. The First Lady, Ivanka Trump, essentially saying they were very disturbed by the images at the border. And I think ultimately the personal and the political pressure just became too much. In terms of when officials here learn about it, they say they learned this morning that the president would be signing that executive order. And remember, last night, Senator Hatch gave him a way out, gave him this executive order idea to essentially allow him to get out of this crisis, which, as you pointed out, he created by enacting that zero tolerance policy. So I think all of those factors bubbled up, Chris, and that's why he made this decision. But look, the political pressure has been mounting for days. You and I have been talking about this. This is a former reality TV star who knows what makes good TV and what's bad TV, and the images of the children, the sounds of the children crying who'd been separated from their families, I think was too much for Republicans. They started speaking out against this president. That was something that we haven't seen frequently here. And you, again, had privately his own family members saying that he had to take action. So ultimately, Chris, I think this was a combination of a number of factors, but the realization that he was losing the political argument here.
I mean, I want to slice it a little thinner if you can help me here. Is it, I think Trump didn't like the pictures because he's a PR guy at heart. He's a TV producer at heart. But Melania, I have a sense that she's a civilian when it comes to this. She's not a politician. Is it, do you think, knowing her as much as you can report on this, that it was her feelings about what was being done to these kids and not the PR that moved her?
I think that's a significant piece of it. Remember, she issued that statement earlier this week that we all tried to interpret. Was she breaking with her husband when she said that we have to, of course, have strong laws, but at the same time, we have to govern morally? And that really was seen by a number of people as publicly sending a signal that this policy just cannot stand. And so I do think she was a significant factor here, Chris. I think there's no doubt about that. But then you go back to the images and the president's own sensibilities about them. He knew on a gut level, as a dad, as the president, as a politician, that those images were devastating and that ultimately they were just getting worse. And remember also, Chris, they were struggling to answer very basic questions about what was happening to these kids. Where were the girls? Where were the young toddlers?
Yes.
They were really struggling to answer those questions. And I think ultimately they determined this was indefensible.
Thank you so much, Kristen Walker at the White House. In this case, thank God for the television camera. Speaker Strauss, your feelings about this, because I think you're talking about more than image here. You're talking policy, sir. Go ahead.
Yes, Chris, good evening. I think it's really important to hold all of our public officials accountable, especially when they're not telling the truth and when they cross very clear moral boundaries, as was the case here. I think this week also the president, the administration, conflated several issues. There's immigration policy, there was a zero tolerance policy, and then there was his desperate attempt to find funding for a border wall. And he miscalculated, thinking that by this policy of stripping away innocent, terrified young children from their parents and putting them in metal cages, that he could bring people to the table to negotiate for his border wall. And it blew up on him. This was a crisis of his own making.
Tell me about the lie. What was the lie from Trump?
Well, I mean, he was not telling the truth when he said that was the law that these family members had to be separated. And they also were not being truthful about what could be done to was for the president to call the Attorney General, speak to his Homeland Security Secretary, and reverse this horrifying policy.
Well, Trump's border policy has pushed some longtime Republicans to their limit, like you, sir. Today, Republicans tried to Steve Schmidt, who was served as John McCain's campaign manager in 2008, announced he's leaving the GOP altogether. Quote, today I renounced my membership in the Republican Party. It is fully the party of Trump. It's corrupt, indecent, and immoral. He says,
have you purchased a ticket for the 2018 FIFA World Cup? Make sure you apply for a fan ID. It is issued once for free and covers all the matches you're attending. You'll need to present it with your match ticket at the stadium entrance.
Oh, look at this! Who saw that coming?
Foreign spectators can enter and leave the territory of the Russian Federation visa-free with a fan ID. Either in the laminated form or in electronic format if they have valid documents of identification that are recognized as such by the Russian Federation.
Hard left.
Entry is possible from 0000 hours to 23:59 July 15, 2018.
Hit him hard with that hook.
Exit is possible from 0000 hours to 23:59 July 25, 2018. Your fan ID with a match ticket entitles you to travel for free on the additional trains to the 2018 FIFA World Cup host city. It also allows you to use public transport in the host cities on match day. Read the guide for Fan ID issue and apply at fan-id.ie. You can also apply at any Fan ID distribution centre in Russia. Non-resident overseas spectators can receive Fan ID by postal mail at one of the primary visa centres, at one of the Rossa-Trudna-Chestko representative offices, or at any Fan ID distribution centre in the territory of the Russian Federation. Please take note. It's necessary to get a laminated Fan ID
to end the fight here. Outstanding knockout. Yeah, Joe, a near-perfect strike to end the fight and end the night for his opponent, who candidly may not have even seen that shot coming. So just the way he drew it up, exactly what he told us during fight week, played out here on fight night. He found a little opening in his opponent's defense and barged right through it to get the big knockout win. Let's take a look at that again.
Yeah, a little bit there, Retro, a little bit.
We said it inside the octagon. Here is Bruce Buffer.
When he crosses that
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Mario Yamasaki is calling a stop to this contest.
But I think Steve Schmidt makes a very good point. I don't have a party to go to that I believe in more than the Republican Party. I'm part of the Stay and Fight faction. I mean, the November elections are upon us, and let's see which Republicans are rewarded in November. Those who blindly follow a self-described strongman leader who won't be president forever, or those who served like I did.
So there he is, the UFC's undisputed lightweight champion. That's the way he came in, and that is the way he goes out. He has proven without a shadow of a doubt that he is the best 155-pound fighter on the planet. Gets the win by knockout here tonight, and maybe it was just how emphatic the finish it was that is resulting in such a big celebration in that corner.
A Democrat who has no problem with the partisan issue in Terry McAuliffe may well be playing a role in keeping Trump to one term. Governor, tell me about this view. I mean, tell me the politics. You're a politician as well. Why did Trump wait till the day, play his cards to the end?
Not bad, Retro. I'd rather go down to the ground than stand up.
And then flip late this afternoon. What's it all about?
Well, first, he created the mess, and he thought it was working for him. And he doubled down yesterday, and I think with the pictures coming out and the uproar all over the country, I think he realized that once again he had taken us down the low road. He has done this time and time again. You know, I was hopeful after he got elected that when he took the oath of office, and I served as chairman of the National Governors Association, all the governors, we thought that he would rise to the occasion to be president of the United States, but he hasn't. He has continuously taken the low road, and what he has done in this situation with the children is
not one black person
not only in America, but Chris, all over the world. They are looking at the United States of America, the greatest nation on earth, the beacon of democracy, the beacon of morality.
Hi, girl, come here.
Question people's thoughts about how they think about America. And for the people who follow us, and for people who do things we don't like around the world, they look to what America is doing now, and I'm afraid of what their behavior will be going forward. This man has taken America in the wrong direction. He is a walking nightmare. He is erratic. He did it in Charlottesville when we had neo-Nazis and alt-right and white supremacists come to Virginia. He had an opportunity to stand up and morally do the right thing. He did. He took the low road. He said it was both sides' fault. It wasn't. 32-year-old Heather Heyer, who lost her life that day, she was protesting against hatred. So I think he realized that he had no one left. His wife wasn't with him anymore. People around the country weren't with him. People around the world with him. And he figured he'd better just cut his losses. But this will be a dark moment in America's history. To put these children in steel cages like internment camps is something people will never forget. And it was Donald J. Trump. It was his policy. He has hurt this country around the globe.
Well, this remain in the minds of people for, we've learned one thing, Governor, that the minute-by-minute changes in public focus is something that Trump has been able to exploit. The change of mind, the change of topic. Will this stay in the minds and hearts of people months from now?
I think this is something that is burned in the minds of Americans. This was something so abhorrent that nobody could actually believe it. And when the tape came out with the children crying for their mother, that is something that people will remember forever. It has hurt America and the prestige and the moral leader that we are. So this is going to be well into the elections. But put the politics aside for a second, Chris. This is about America. And what this man...
See you later, Retro.
America, what he has done to the G7, to our allies in the EU, to our allies in Canada and into Mexico, he has created chaos in the world. The only person looking back satisfied today is Vladimir Putin, who's got to be sitting back laughing of all the actions he took to disrupt the 2016 election, and he's saying to himself, boy, look what I caused in the United States of America.
You know, I had Elizabeth Warren on yesterday, the senator from Massachusetts, and I had her on for a reason. The reason I'd always want her on is because I think she's one of the nominees, possible nominees of the Democratic Party in 2020, and I think you're a possible nominee. Do you think this is going to make it more likely for people to take the moral plunge against Trump, this incident?
I think it has outraged so many people, and I think
The one thing, as you saw today, the polls, the Pew Research came out today, voter interest is up the highest level.
Hi, my name is Monica, and I'm a Lyft driver. I love Express Pay because I'm able to cash out instantly any day of the week. And
we have had in 20 years. I think what you're going to see, Chris, is a huge turnout in the midterms as they go in and vote for the House and the Senate in these 36 governor's races. It's coming against Donald Trump. We have had it with his antics. We have had it with him getting rid of all of America's allies around the globe. We want a president, literally, who unifies people, who works together. You can work on both sides for the common good of jobs, on infrastructure. Look what he's done to health care. Premiums are up all over the country. He's tried to roll back the ACA. People are feeling that at home. They're paying higher premiums today. They're stuck in traffic. Infrastructure isn't working. President Trump has taken America down the wrong road, and I do think you're going to see a lot of people step up to the plate, rightfully so, and they should.
Trump's strongest supporters have shown a degree of callousness that threatens to alienate moderates in their own party. Just last night, Trump's former campaign chairman mocked a Democratic strategist for showing concern for a separated 10-year-old girl with Down syndrome. Let's watch this scene.
I mean, look, I read today about a 10-year-old girl with Down syndrome who was taken from her mother and put in a cage. I read about did you say want to a 10-year-old with Down syndrome being taken from her mother?
Pick anything you dare, but the bottom line is very clear. When you absolutely dare you, silly.
And now our tail of the tape
Speaker,
for this
Mr. Speaker, what do you make of that? This,
both fighters, 29
what's the right
years
word?
Of age.
Callousness of the Republicans defending the president to the point of making fun of a kid with Down syndrome who's been separated from his parents. I mean, that's a colossal tragedy to treat a kid with. Your challenge is to begin with, and then separate him from the parents he needs.
There's no doubt it was a cruel and horrifying policy, and it didn't work. The good news is, in all of this, that the American people rose up and expressed themselves. Laura Bush was clear and eloquent. All of the former First Ladies and the current First Lady, business leaders, faith leaders, and millions of Americans spoke up. So the system really did work today, or this week, and that's a good lesson, I hope.
Well, I love the fact that you were out there. I hope you run for office again, because we've heard too many outspoken Republicans are on their way out the door. I like Republicans that are still running for office having to say something about Trump. It shows me a lot more guts. Your thoughts?
I've not known to be shy in the past. I'm serving my 5th term as Speaker of the House. I think that's enough. I need to go away.
Good. Well, run again, please. Anyway, the former Virginia governor himself, Terry McAuliffe, I'm hopeful will run for higher office. And thank you, Kristen Welker, for the straight story. And again, Joe Strauss, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Coming up, the lost children. Now that Trump's reversing course, at least for today, and ending his policy of separating children from their parents, what's the plan to reunite them? Some have been taken so far away as Michigan and New York, up in the Bronx. Will they ever see their parents again? That's ahead. Plus, many of the migrants coming to this country are escaping a living secrets about the hard choices those forced to make when they come to leave their home countries to come here to our border. When they expect Trump will try to use the racial fight as one of the culture war issues he hopes to bring in 2018 and again in 2020, but after this week, that's not looking like a very good strategy, does it? Not so safe, is it? Finally, we face Trump watching more like this one. This is hardball.
Jabs in bunches here, splits the guard there, and continuing to keep his opponent at distance.
Michael Cohen,
courtesy of that
longtime personal lawyer and fixer, has resigned from his post on the RNC Finance Committee. According to ABC News, Cohen cited his ongoing legal trouble as a reason for his departure. Resignation RNC chairman Ronald Rodney McDaniel. Cohen also took a shot at Trump's family separation policy. According to ABC, Cohen said, as the son of a Polish Holocaust survivor, the images and sounds of this family separation policy is heart-wrenching. I strongly support measures that will secure our borders. Children should never be used as bargaining chips. That's Michael Cohen. We'll be right back.
A bachelor. And that's how he intended to keep it. Then he met the love of his life, who came with a 3-foot, 2-inch bonus. For this new stepdad.
Welcome back to Harbaugh. The disturbing images of small children being torn from their parents were troubling enough to push the president to act, but nobody really expected that it could get worse. Last night it did. According to the Associated Press, Trump administration officials are sending babies as well as small children to what are called tender age shelters in South Texas. Lawyers and medical providers who spoke to the Associated Press described scenes of playrooms of crying preschool-age children in crisis. And while they insist the facilities are safe, they add that the small children have no idea where their parents are and are hysterical, crying and acting out. 4 days ago, Homeland Security officials told reporters, quote, "We are not separating babies from parents." We now know that's not true. The Detroit Free Press is reporting that 2 baby boys aged 8 months and 11 months were shipped to Grand Rapids, Michigan.
I agree,
in the
Iron.
middle of the night. We're also hearing stories of children being sent as far as Kansas or even New York City, up to Harlem.
How you doing, Iron?
New York once shot this video of 5 young girls being escorted to a foster center after being separated from their parents. There those kids are.
That's such
One
bullshit.
Honduran woman told the New Yorker magazine that she has not seen her.
Open Door is a new way to sell your home. You sell your home to Open Door. We close on your timeline. You just go on the website and you type in.
Seen her 5-year-old son in nearly 6 weeks and is extremely worried that she might be deported without him. Well, given the president's new executive order of late today, it's unclear what happens to the children already separated, the thousands of them already separated from their parents. From where I'm joined by NBC's Jacob Soboroff, who's in McAllen, Texas, Father John Jenkins, president of the University of Notre Dame, and Christina Fiallo, co-executive director of Freedom for Immigrants. Well, I'm glad to have all three of you. Jacob, first, the facts of this story. Of those thousands of kids already torn from their parents, including kids that are just at the tender age level, are they going to get back to their parents anytime soon or at all?
Well, we don't know, Chris. I just got off the phone, actually, with an official from HHS, the agency
Hello.
that has been responsible for housing these children that have been separated from their parents once they leave the custody of the Border Patrol. And they tell me that ultimately whether or not those
Yeah, I'll be over there, but I'm going to
kids
Clubhouse.
that have been ripped from their parents down here on the southern border end up back with their parents, grandfathered essentially under this executive order, is up to the Department of Homeland Security. And I reached out to the Department of Homeland Security tonight. We still don't have an answer, and that also leaves all of these children
Any other questions?
in limbo. I got to remind you, we still have not seen, we know about those 3 tender age shelters, but we still have not actually had our eyes on the girls that are detained and the toddlers and the infants that are detained, and we continue to ask to see them because despite the fact that the kids moving forward will be detained with their families, whether or not it's in ICE detention or some sort of other detention center, maybe even indefinitely, we don't know what happens to these 2,500 children that were the victims of this.
We don't know. We don't know. Let me stay there. We're going to Father Jenkins because Father Jenkins, you hold a seat which is treasured in our country in terms of human rights, going back to Theodore Hesburgh and the Civil Rights Commission. I wanted you on the show tonight because I wanted, before we know what Trump was up to this afternoon, I wanted to know what people like yourself and the clergy and academics think about this moment in history, because I think it is a moment in our history that's not a good one.
For position here on the clinch. Both
well, I agree, Chris. It is a moral outrage that you're seeing across the political spectrum at this. And the reason is families are so central to what holds us together as human beings. St. John Paul II called it the fundamental building blocks of society. And when the state intervenes to tear families apart, it's intervening at what is really at the heart of our values. And this is never what America has stood for. It's never been who we are as Americans. And I think that's why you're seeing such outrage at this practice of separating parents from children.
What do you say to those who support the president generally on immigration issues, or sort of hardliners in this case?
Well, look, we need secure borders. Everyone agrees with that. What worries me is the rhetoric demeans these people. I mean, to talk about them as rapists and criminals, it just isn't true. Most of them are people looking for a better life for their families. Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't have border security. We should. But treat these people as human beings. Don't treat them as animals or someone that we can take their rights away. That's what I think people are saying. Again, you could think what you want about immigration reform, but the starting point should be treat these people with decency and treat these families with decency.
Thank you, Father. Let me go to Christina on this. Christina, you know, what Father just touched on is a very bad point in our history. For hundreds of years, the white people of this country, just to be ethnic about it for a moment, separated black people from their families. That was what slavery was all about. People each having each person having a price on their head, basically. You could sell people and separate them for money. And that went on for hundreds of years in this country. This was not a one-week thing like this thing. But this sort of goes back to that. The willingness for national policy to separate and break up families is now on the head of this country and those who support the government.
That is correct, Chris. The Trump administration's executive order to stop the separation of families, but to put them into family immigration detention facilities is not the solution. My organization, Freedom for Immigrants, has been visiting and monitoring immigration detention facilities for a decade, including family detention facilities, and we know what happens inside of there. It's awful. We released a report last year that found widespread sexual and physical assault in immigration detention facilities, including a young girl under 18 who filed a claim at the Carnes Detention Facility, a family detention facility in Texas, about sexual assault. A medical examination showed vaginal scarring and an STD. I know the American public really wants to see an immediate solution to this brutal reality that we're living in, but family immigration detention is not the solution.
Nah, man. I've been working, man. I've been trying to tell you. Been telling you I'm working, Cruppy, and then I've been busy. I told you we got a new clubhouse. It's right from our clubhouse. You can see the girl collection lights. I could throw a baseball to the girl collection. Floyd Mayweather Strip Club. That's how close we are. Man, it's awesome, man. I'm tired. Been working my ass off. They got us fucking slaving, Cruppy. When I get out of work, I don't want to do nothing. I don't want to, you know. I'll bring you to the club.
All right, here we go with round two.
Let me go back to Jacob.
This is going to become one of those things where you're just wondering what's the opponent going to be able to do.
What's going to happen in 2006? Some of them sent up to New York, some sent to Michigan. The parents have no idea where they are.
What a jab.
Some of the parents...
Oh, he's going for it.
Effective punch there by Connor.
Skip all that and sell your house to open door instead of putting on
He's got the plum here.
every day. You do it all online.
He's got the overhand here. McGregor's worked in that arm well. Double underhooks now. So the head strike's starting to pile up.
Back to over-under control. Got double underhooks.
Parents were lied to. I was reading today that some parents were told, oh, you'll see your kid in a couple days.
Yeah, they could be in 17 states and 100 different shelters, Chris. But I just want to go back to what President Obama said there, because the words are inspiring, but to echo the point that we just heard, President Obama and his administration operated and opened shelters just like the ones that we got to look into just this past week, the ones with the cages and the mats and the Mylar blankets. If you were displeased, disgusted by seeing children alone in them, that's a policy that dates back not the children, but the detention center itself, to administrations before this one. So when it comes to immigration, if you feel like you want to change after what you've seen, it's not just about children being detained alone, but how all immigrants are detained when they come into this country illegally.
This debate's going to go on, and it's human now, and we've seen the human face of it like we never thought we'd see. I thank you so much, Jacob, of course, from McAllen, Texas, Jacob Sobel, and thank you, Father John Jenkins of Holy, I was going to say Holy Cross, that's my school. From Notre Dame, thank you, University of Notre Dame, and Christine Fialo, thank you. Jacob will be reporting on the border crisis on Dateline Sunday. That's the Dividing Line, it's called. It airs at 7 Eastern on NBC. Up next, President Trump has claimed that those crossing the border are intent on bringing drugs and crime into this country. But in reality, many of the migrants are escaping horrific violence down in Central America. We're going to talk to a Roman Catholic nun, a sister, who's working to help those asylum seekers. We haven't talked about this yet. What's forcing them to do this kind of pilgrimage to get away from hell? This is Hardball with the Actionists.
Nice punch there by McGregor.
I think you have to understand we're keeping families together, but we have to keep our borders strong. We will be overrun with crime and with people that should not be in our country.
Anyway, that was President Trump late this afternoon, announcing his executive order to end his own policy of family separation at the border. Trump has consistently painted those crossing the border as criminals. Seeking to, here's a word for you, infest this country like vermin. It's really an awful word for people. The Washington Post's Philip Buck took a closer look at the choices faced by those who cross, noting that that view of immigrants coming to the United States as latent criminals sneaking across the border to plunder intentionally ignores a more accurate depiction of migrants. People driven from their home countries seeking a better life in the United States, and many of those seeking asylum come from Central America's northern triangles. These are three troubled countries, violent countries: Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. You probably studied them in geography. Anyway, NBC's Gabe Gutierrez spoke with several migrants from Honduras.
Let's take a look at some of the action in that round.
Into the United States.
Here's a perfect kick to the body.
La barra de la 18.
And here's another clean shot that lands.
She says gangs threatened her life, and that's why she had to leave Honduras with her 3-year-old child.
And here's a devastating blow that almost ends this fight.
Because of the violence, and she says this is her second time trying to get into the United States.
Beautiful Jenny Andrade getting us going.
But she's having to try again because she's afraid to go back to Honduras.
I'm joined right now by Sister Norma Pimentel, Executive Director of Catholic Charities at the Rio Grande border. Sister, thank you for joining us. And all I want to do is ask you to tell us what you've heard from the migrants who come up, particularly from Central America, to try to get asylum.
Now, starting off this round, he might still be
yes,
hurt. He's going to want to
I welcome so many families here at the Emergency Center. And the stories that we hear are stories of a lot of pain and hardship that many families go through, having to leave their country because of the situation they have to face, and then go through a journey of a lot of fear and people abusing them, and finally entering our country and finding themselves scared and frightened. And so finally, when they arrive at our door in our respite center, we actually are able to help them feel better.
Are they escaping their own governments?
Yes, well, they're escaping the reality of violence that is produced by all the corruption and all the gangs that are after them and their children and trying to recruit them and threatening to kill them. And that story just goes on and on all the time.
I heard that some of the young kids, the young boys, very young boys are recruited for like MS-13, but also the girls are told if they don't support that, their parents will get killed. It's that frightening.
That's true. That's totally true. You know, and the families, and even today, we had a mother that was actually sharing how her 15-year-old daughter was really very frightened because they told her, you need to join us and be part of us. If not, we will kill your family and we will kill you as well.
All of those are blocked.
Tell me about the fact that is it your sense that pretty much all the people coming from those three countries, Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, that those countries are really, they're all honest cases for asylum, as you see it. Are they
keeping his head protected here? Excellent blocking.
Mostly, how would you describe? Are all the people coming up, how would you describe the percentage of people coming up who really do face fear at home?
You know, I can hear their stories, and the majority of the families that I see that are actually arrived to our center are families who really are frightened, who fear for the lives and the lives of their children. I think that they have a legitimate, credible fear for their life and the life of their family, and that I think that is a valid reason to want to be in this country, to ask for protection, for safety, and to apply for political asylum.
That's a big hook.
Sister, thank you so much. My two aunts, my mom's two sisters were sisters of St. Joseph. I'm so glad to have you on the program. We don't have enough nuns on this program. Thank you so much, Sister Norma.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Thanks, thank you. President Trump's holding a rally. You know he's having a rally right here in Minnesota tonight, despite today's announcement. What a night to celebrate. Trump reportedly considers immigration a winning issue heading into the midterm. So we're ready for what could be a wild ride. What a great fun night for him. Mr. Backflip. You're watching Hardball. Welcome back to Hardball. President Trump's about to hold a Make America Great Again rally in Duluth, Minnesota, hours after he signed that executive order to undo his own policy of separating kids from their parents. As the Washington Post reported earlier this week, Trump had originally been defiant as protests grew over his immigration policy. According to the Post, the president considers immigration a winning issue for him politically. He has complained repeatedly in recent months that he looks weak on border enforcement and has been concerned that his base could turn on him for not being tougher. Well, Trump's tough stance on illegal immigration is central to his 2016 presidential campaign. Of course, we all know that. Let's watch.
Every year, over 10 million people have their identity stolen. Take control of your identity with ID Shield. ID Shield monitors your personal information, such as your social...
When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists. A lot of the places, they're illegals, and they're tough dudes. They're tough. They're out of here. I'll tell you what, before I even get the wall started, they're gone the first day. One of the first things, they're gone. One of the reasons we've done so well here is because we are going to stop illegal immigration. And if we don't stop it, we don't have a country, folks. We don't have a country. We don't have a country. And, you know, I have as big a heart as anybody here. I have as big a heart as anybody. It's like with the migration. Help them. Let's do something. But we can't let them come over, almost more importantly than anybody.
Let's bring in tonight's Hardball Roundtable. We're going to have to be hard-headed for this one. Ruth Mark is deputy editorial page editor of the Washington Post and an MSNBC contributor. Ayesha Rask is a White House reporter for NPR. And what Trump does is he sort of masks ethnic prejudice by saying it's not that we're against Hispanics, we're against rapists. You know what I mean?
Masks.
I mean, masks. For the purpose of his audience not feeling bad about saying what they're cheering.
All right, coming up next,
I don't think
the UFC
the
middleweight
masking,
division
kids don't look like rapists.
Our
the
tail
mask
of the
comes
tape
off
for this
pretty
middleweight fight.
quickly where Trump
So these
is
fighters
concerned.
are just
You know,
a year
he'll
apart.
always hedge it a
Some
little bit.
differences
And
in
some of
height
them,
and
I guess,
reach.
are good people,
All right, now for
right?
the
Was
official
what he said.
introductions, we go inside the octagon where we find
They're rapists, and some of them, I suppose, are good people. But it's it is not subtle. It is racist at its core, and it's fundamentally...
Hey, what's up, Dave?
This is how we got, I think, to the family separation policy, which is not understanding that these people who are crossing the border, as the sister said to you, are taking their children on this dangerous journey because they are desperate. They are desperate to get out of the dangerous situation in their countries, to try to build a better life for their children here. And he does not see them as people, and that is the reason he is not treating them as people.
What do you make of the first lady getting involved in this?
Well, I think when she...
I think she did.
I think there's definitely a narrative where there are officials who want us to feel like she got involved, and that she did make a difference. I think that there is a picture being put out that she did try to, I guess, lobby the president. I'm not going to say that it's not true, but I think that it is.
Because I know that's skeptical. You think they're trying to say Trump did the right thing. He was the tough guy, and the wife's a little softer, and that sort of softened him a little bit. But it takes the edge off.
He's out of the full mouth.
I think it's interesting that they're putting this in the mouth of Ivanka and Melania and First Lady to say that these are the women. They're saying, look, you got to be soft. And as you said, President Trump wants to be tough. And he said today, you know, I think you got to be tough, but then you get these horrible images. So he's trying to say that's what he wants.
Okay, I'm trying to be a little bit nicer here. I've only met Melania a few times. I've always think she's nice. She's an immigrant. Her parents are immigrants. She does obviously have some knowledge of an immigrant experience, even if she's very fortunate to come in as a top model and all that, and marry the president. I have to believe she knows what it feels like to be somebody from another country.
Absolutely, and I think it's also worth noting that she's often defended Trump on some very problematic ideas and not encouraging him to apologize and saying he punches back and needs to double down. And so she doesn't have a consistent track record of speaking out for the least of
So what's it mean that she's doing it this time?
He's in full guard
it's
here.
not
He's
clear
looking for
that
the
she's
triangle.
doing it as strongly as the White House perhaps is putting out there. And I think far more importantly,
She didn't do it when it called Mexican immigrants rapists and murderers on day one. So you think the president, we're getting really political, which is fine with me. Do you think the president and his people approved that press release she put out, that tweet where she said this is wrong, this separation of children from their parents?
Got the choke for the tap.
Well, you can tell he has been working hard on his submissions in his training camp. That was a near-perfect setup on that choke. Sunk it in deep, and the opponent had no choice but to tap out or go to sleep. He chose to tap
where you could read it as completely.
And one more time, beautiful technique here.
And we go inside the octagon. Bruce Buffer has your official decision.
Really poked.
Yeah, Rosalynn Carter, too. Anyway, reporting on the president's distortions of the truth, the Washington Post notes that President Trump has been outdoing even himself with falsehoods in late days. According to a psychology researcher, both Trump's use of repetition is a particularly effective technique for convincing his supporters of the veracity of his false claims. By the way, this has been done before. It's called a big lie. There are many signs that such falsehoods have taken hold among many in Trump's base. As one New York Times reporter noted on Twitter, a Trump supporter in Duluth, Minnesota, just told me she has compassion for separated families, but ultimately believes that the detainment center photos and videos are fake and photoshopped. They use faked and photoshopped, like the people that say we didn't go to the moon, it was all fake. They believe this is faked.
It seemed like the people that were trying to defend this policy couldn't really decide where they wanted to land. Like, on the one hand, they were saying this is a horrible policy. The president himself said it was these images, but then they were also trying to say that this really wasn't a big deal, and that it really wasn't happening.
Like that cute girl in the red jacket we see all the pictures of looking up. She's an actor? That's what they're saying.
She's in crisis, but she's not an actor.
That's that kid.
I'm working, Dave. I'm going to be busy for the next couple of weeks, man. I'm working my ass off.
Whatever the other networks are saying, it's the exact opposite. And if that's all they're consuming, that's what they believe.
And why do they say that? They say that because the president of the United States has told them that the scum fake news is pervading.
Oh, by the way, I turned on Fox. I flipped the channel this morning to make sure I'm getting all the points of view. They're talking about the FBI and the IG and all that stuff. They're not even talking about this.
No, absolutely. We have a Washington Post reporter in Duluth right now who said even before Trump has come on stage, they're chanting lock her up. They aren't focused on what we're talking about right
Hillary
now.
up.
Hillary up. They're still talking about Hillary Clinton in 2018.
She's got a life after political death. Like I'm saying, they never. She's a ghost to these people. Anyway, the roundtable thing. Listen, before I go, I want to recognize someone.
The gap in age between these two fighters
been here, you might say, from Hardball's earliest innings.
All right, now for the official introductions, we go inside the octagon where we find
He's leaving the show after 18 years. What a great run. There we are with the Stanley Cup. Ford has been universally admired and loved and will be missed by everyone here at Hardball and MSNBC. Watch the Hardball.
A Muay Thai kickboxer and jiu-jitsu fighter.
Trump's meeting with congressional Republicans yesterday was supposed to be about immigration. But the president couldn't resist using that occasion to take a shot at outgoing Congressman Mark Sanford, who just lost his primary to a pro-Trump challenger. According to the Washington Post, President Trump mocked Sanford, sarcastically saying, I want to congratulate him on running a great race. Well, that comment reportedly drew awkward silence among Republicans. And today, Trump disputed that reporting, writing on Twitter that House Republicans applauded and laughed loudly when I mentioned my experience with Mark Sanford. I've never been a fan of his. Republican Congressman Justin Amish, who was in the meeting, responded, House Republicans had front row seats to the president's dazzling display of pettiness and insecurity. Nobody applauded or laughed. People were disgusted. They're finally challenging this guy.
He's going southpaw here, Joe.
Oh, and there's...
That punch no good. Finds his range with the jab. Hit him hard with that hook. The left hook hits home. Oh! The kick lands and he's down. Powerful right hand. Really starting to make these shots count.
And he winds up on top. Full back hook. He's moving into full mount. Hip escape, nice hip escape.
And busy as he looks to improve position here.
Showing some good defense here, trapping that arm. Excellent posture. He's doing a great job of moving and transitioning here on the ground. Oh, man, that is rough.
Under 3 minutes now to go in what has been a very fast-paced opening round here.
He postures into place. Landing some big punches from this position.
Elbow lands for him.
He's putting his hands down on the thighs. He's looking to pass. He's posturing up here.
Gets the elbow up into the target. Under 2 minutes to go.
He's got to protect himself from the ground and pound, though.
Lands the ground and pound strike.
Nice shot to the head.
Oh, that cut has really opened up now, Joe. Able to land with the left hand. Postures up now. Oh, and delivers. Huge punch to the head there. Final minute.
Nice punch to the body.
Seconds to go here in round one.
Back to full guard. Wow.
Trying for a submission here.
He escaped the triangle. It looks to me like he's trying to turn towards either side. Big body punch.
Round two straight ahead. Stop, stop, stop.
Ultimately believes that the detainment center photos and videos are fake and that they are published. The president has said the children and their families is intended to distract.
Nice.
Much improved.
Oh, he nailed him. He hurt him with that hook.
Huge right hand!
Hard hammer fist.
And really starting to make these shots count.
How many crimes he committed? Numerous. They wanted her to be innocent. With me, nothing. No collusion. No
right back up to his feet.
Oh! He's got him right here.
And it's not working too well.
Oh, big left hook there.
Look at
this, takedown!
But you look at the corruption. Did you ever see anything like it really today?
Excellent movement and transitions here on the ground. Staying busy. Half guard and mount again. Full mount.
That's happening in Congress where this whole scam has been revealed. So they want to stay on immigration where Obama had bigger
And he connects with the punch there.
Bush had
told NBC News last night that they had received no
Very nice sweep. Winds up in his opponent's guard. He's in full guard here. He's looking for the triangle. Throws his other leg over. He wants to lock it in place. He popped out of the triangle.
during a meeting with congressional
postures up here.
President Trump praised himself for having the political courage to revert the policy.
Working on another submission attempt here.
Get the fuck out of here, man.
And now he's passing the half guard. Good control, postures up. Into full guard again. Back up. Good defense there.
Well, his corner was pretty urgent after round one. A little bit lackluster there in that opening round. He has certainly picked up the pace here, and as a result, he has taken control of this second round. Oh, working well off of that, Jeff. Hand speed, man. it's home. All right, so a swing and a miss there, and largely due to fatigue. His stamina is low, and he's got to figure out a way to conserve some energy. If he's...
What an exchange. Oh, flying knee.
Oh, nice hook.
Hard left hook.
Oh, big left.
I hate the children being taken away. The Democrats have to change their...
Hit him with the jab.
The Democrats forced that law upon our
Well,
nation.
some have gotten through, Joe. This shot is Oh, so what an end to the round. He got knocked down just before the final horn. You can classify that as saved by the bell.
And here a big shot lands and a knockdown. And here another big shot lands and another knockdown. And here another clean shot lands and another knockdown.
And they were showing images from 2014. They blow away what we're looking at today. And that was not during this, that was during the Obama administration. I saw images of
Third round underway.
That last round.
Another shot. Back to the feet.
Nice jab. Switching stances here.
Well, at this point, you got to think he's got to start to mix things up a bit more. At this point, he's worked the head to great effect, but get some strikes to the midsection. Try to stay down.
This could be it right here.
Oh, big left hook there.
Oh, very nice.
All right, so there's a swing and a miss from him, and sometimes when you miss, it can tax your gas tank even more than when you land a strike. So clearly, it is energy preservation time at this point of the fight. How about that shin? Just misses with the straight.
These guys are swinging. Oh, this is in the body. He got nailed. Huge flying knee for the KO.
All right, man, I'm out of here. I gotta go take a shower and get cleaned up.
I have to tell you this as a lifelong striker. The knees don't always...
It's going to take weeks, Yasmin. So the U.S. government is interested in keeping out elected officials, which is a little bit crazy.
Well, what were you seeing throughout the day yesterday, especially after that executive order was done? I was watching your Twitter feed, and I would see sort of buses streaming in to the Tent City. Talk to me about the amount of people that you saw going in and out.
So we saw two buses. I saw two buses full. I would say, 75 to 100 kids on the bus. There were vans going in that were empty. There were big buses going in.
Yeah, I'll be back, man. I gotta go handle some business.
To the camp. But this was after the executive